My name is Mara Vanderslice Kelly, and I'm from Colorado originally. I grew up in Boulder, Colorado, and I still love the mountains and going skiing. I try to get back there a lot. But I went to college at a small Quaker school in Indiana called Earlham College, which is really where I came to my faith. I was raised in a Unitarian Universalist family. So my family wasn't, really Christian, but we were involved in going to church and exploring lots of different faith traditions. But when I went to college, the very first thing that I did was study abroad in Bogota, Colombia. So I was working with some of the very, very poorest communities there outside of Bogota. And it was for me, having grown up in Boulder, which is a very, although progressive, sort of affluent white community. And it was really the first time I had ever seen true poverty. And I was there in the barrios with the people who were serving the poor were Christians. I mean, they were Catholic, they were Pentecostal, they were living out their faith as being called to serve the poorest of the poor on the outskirts of this city, the sort of people that were left behind. And I was so moved to see people live out their faith in such a kind of a witness. And to be honest, growing up in Colorado, it hadn't been the face of Christianity that I had grown up seeing. We grew up in the shadow of Focus on the Family and the Amendment 2 proposition, which was trying to make discrimination against gay people legal. And I just always saw the face of Christianity in American politics as one of anger and of bias, as opposed to of compassion and service. So when I got to see people putting their faith into action, it really made me want to know more about this Jesus of Nazareth and why all these people were so compelled to follow Jesus. And so I got involved with a Bible study group on our campus, InterVarsity group, led by a big African-American pastor. And we studied the scriptures every week. And the more that I read in Isaiah and Micah about the prophets and their call for people of faith to serve justice and to care for the poor and those on the margins, and then getting to read the Gospels and learn really for me for the first time about this Jesus of Nazareth who said he was the Son of God, who came down on earth to be with us and then did the things that he did. He welcomed women into his ministry. He healed the sick. He reached out to Samaritans who were despised at the time. He touched lepers, people who were on the edges. And I just thought, man, this is God coming down to earth to be incarnate and walk with us. And this is what he chooses to do, is to be on the margins, to call out the hypocrisy of the religious groups of the day and to serve the poorest of the poor and to draw people closer to him and to the Father. And I just fell in love with the Gospels and with Scripture. And eventually I was in a worship at our Quaker worship, and I remember this moment forever because they were singing "Here I Am, Lord," that hymn, and I just remember I had a lot of doubts. Just because of the way I had seen Christians put themselves forward in our country as being all Republican, as being skeptical of women's leadership, of being against gay people, of not standing for the values that I shared. And I had really struggled with some of this stuff, but I remember being in that moment and I just felt Jesus calling me and just said, you can set down those doubts. And I remember feeling like I could set it down like pieces of luggage, and just accept his call to come to him and to follow him. And so I made a decision for Christ that day, and I'll remember it for the rest of my life. Now I'm the Deputy Director at the White House Office for Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships, serving President Obama in helping his administration connect to faith-based and secular nonprofits, really to promote the common good, to serve the poor. So Wednesday was the third annual Easter prayer breakfast that the president hosted here in the White House. And surprising to some, he is actually the first president to initiate the tradition of hosting an Easter prayer breakfast specifically for Christians to celebrate the crucifixion and the resurrection here at the White House. It was an amazing day. We had 150 Christian leaders from across the country of all different backgrounds, mainline Protestant, African American, a lot of younger evangelicals, older evangelicals, Catholics, both lay Catholics and archbishops, priests, nuns. And what was so special was to see that diversity of the Christian community come together in the East Room of the White House in prayer. And I felt like we had church in the White House. And the spirit of celebrating the resurrection was just so crystal clear. I think in the room people felt it, and it just felt like we all came together despite our differences. I'm sure there are people there that voted for the president and people there who did not, but on that day it didn't matter because we were all just celebrating together as believers, and the spirit was just tremendous.